how it has planted seeds and made extraordinary things happen in our little 1.9 square miles. And all of these faces here, including probably the ones that are paid to be here, on your back, here to say and speak, testify about how wonderful you are is not a surprise to me. So I'll see you Saturday, and I'll turn it over to Lauren.
Thank you, John. All right, so Commissioner Alschel, 1998, I stood before you and the rest of the commission, who included Steve Smith, Donald DeLuccio, David Baer, Brad Torgan, Brad Crow, and Barbara, not Barbara Hamaker, but I can't remember Barbara's last name. Maybe you'll remember it. I just remember we used to say bad Barbara, good Barbara.
Barbara Hewitt.
Yes.
Barbara Hewitt.
Yes. I think that was it. I honestly don't remember. I just know it wasn't Barbara Hamaker. Barbara Hamaker, you were good, Barbara. Anyway, I have to say that having stood before you and the commission since 1998, I think you made me a better citizen and a better neighborhood advocate, because I knew I had to cross all of my T's and dot all of my I's, because you were going to scare the crap out of me. So I just want to thank you for doing that for me. And, that was the start of my journey. And so I really appreciate what you've done and your service. And I know what it's like to read those, 400-page planning commission packets. And it's not easy. So thank you for doing that all these years. And, we will miss you. And that's it. Just good luck, and we'll miss you. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. Okay, we have quite a few past colleagues of yours, Commissioner Alschel. I'm just gonna go in not any particular order. I'll call on former Commissioner Roy Huebner. Welcome back.
Thank you, David, and Chair Bass and Commission. Yeah, I was fortunate to have met John Alschel, who I got to know as the Cardinal prior to my serving on the commission through my dear friend, Councilman D'Amico. And John was already an iconic figure on the Planning Commission, and I was certainly excited to join him on the commission when I was appointed in 2010. During my 7 years sitting on the dais, Commissioner Alschel was always eager to provide guidance as I settled into the position, and was happy to share his institutional knowledge, which I found invaluable, and give me perspective on controversial city issues. John was also a member of the Design Review Subcommittee that I served on for most of my tenure. And my best memories is I just so enjoyed our kind of rather informal or less formal banter in those meetings, and admired his diplomacy when he was giving his criticism of a design aesthetic. I was personally most flattered when often we were confronted with difficult design issues, Sunset Millennium being one of note. And John would defer to me, telling the applicant that they should work with me. And once I was satisfied, he would be comfortable moving it to the full commission. John's dedication and commitment to the city of West Hollywood is to be commended, and his steering of issues has certainly left a lasting mark on the city's development. As a West Hollywood resident of 28 years, I certainly offer my sincere personal and professional gratitude for your service, John, and I'm honored to have been a colleague and a friend. So best of luck, and you will be missed.
Thank you so much, Roy.
Thank you, Roy. Former Commissioner Joseph Guardarama, please.
Hi, John. When I started thinking about what I was going to say tonight, I went through several versions of it. And what I kept coming back to was the incredible work that you have done over the years. Preparing for one planning commission meeting is hard enough. Preparing for the countless ones that you prepared for is mind-boggling, and it is a debt that the city could probably never, ever even attempt to repay to you. Whether I am driving down Sunset Boulevard, walking down Santa Monica Boulevard, or skateboarding down Cynthia Street, every single project that has come through our planning commission in the past 24 years bears your signature in one way or another. I can look down Sunset Boulevard and think, oh, that building is a little shorter and fits in with the neighborhood better because of John. Or that other building on Santa Monica Boulevard, I remember the design review subcommittee meeting where a ghastly design was presented, and you got the architect and developers to make it a lot better and a lot more suited to our city. The work that you have done, no one ever, ever, ever could do the way that you did. And I will always treasure it. And I know the citizens of the city will always treasure it. But most of all, I think I will always treasure our 20-year friendship. You're my opera buddy, my dinner companion, and hopefully we will be able to resume those things soon. But most of all, I just want to tell you, I appreciate you. The city appreciates you. We love you. I love you. And thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Former Commissioner Alan Bernstein, welcome back.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody. And John, it's so great to be part of this celebration of you. And as I was looking through the Zoom, and I may not have seen everyone, I realized I was appointed to the commission in 2008, and most of that commission is sitting here, Barbara and John and Joe. And what a testament to the impact that you've had on us and continue to have on us. And I recall, well, I don't recall, you don't suffer fools well. That's sort of a known fact about you. And when I was appointed, I was barely qualified, and I had a great plan to rely on my friend John D'Amico for indications of aesthetics and read the law quickly and figure it out. And then John moved on, and I was in a sink or swim thing under your watchful eye. And I need to just thank you for sort of never expecting anything of anybody other than their best. You have had a tremendous and continue to have a tremendously positive impact on me. I now serve in a position where I allocate $60 billion, or I participate in the allocation. And quite honestly, it is much less terrifying than showing up to discuss an EIR with you there and knowing that I better have my facts straight and my opinions defensible. But the flip side is you are tremendously kind and encouraging to younger people who work hard and try to do well. You have always been, I know you always will continue to be. I'm so grateful for the impact you've had on my and my family's life, and I'm thrilled to be here tonight to honor you.
Thank you so much, Alan.
Thank you, Alan. Former Commissioner Barbara Hamaker. Barbara, you need to unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
Okay, how's that? Is that better?
Perfect, we can all hear you. Thank you.
I don't know where the green, I don't know why I have a green screen here. I'm on, I'm on the internet with the Zoom. I'm I moved to Albuquerque last year, so it's really amazing to talk to all my West Hollywood friends after all this time. I miss West Hollywood terribly. And John, it's wonderful to see you. We had a lovely meeting a few months before I moved, and I'm actually happy that you're able to retire finally and maybe watch this on television rather than having to participate. I joined the commission in 2001 after being on the PAC on the East Side for about 7 or 8 years with Aline Winderman. And of course, after 9/11 happened, I was very happy to work on all of the East Side projects. I was the first East Side Planning Commissioner, as I recall, to ever be on the Planning Commission. Everybody was on the other side of La Cienega. So I
And
was.
you survived fences and hedges.
I know, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, I was very, very fond of Brad Crow, and I actually learned quite a bit from Steve Smith too. So I can't even begin to talk about what everybody else said. Everybody said, you know, everything I could possibly say and more. And we had such good times together. We talked about a lot of really fascinating projects, and I enjoyed my 10 years on the Planning Commission very much. So I wish you the best, and I wish we could have coffee on Saturday, but 1,000 miles is a little bit far to go for a cup of coffee. So
Barbara.
yeah, we'll maybe do a Zoom meeting at some point. So much love to you, my dear, and lots of hugs.
Love to you.
David, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you, Barbara. Bianca Siegel. Hi, welcome.
Hi, nice to see everybody. So really happy to be here to congratulate John Altschul on your years of service, and to see everyone else as well. I have to say that as a staff member, I always really appreciated your tough questions and your super skill at facilitating meetings and your fabulous eyeglasses. And now as a former staff member, I can tell you that I appreciate even more the training that I got by presenting to you and your colleagues at these meetings. It's a good education, in case anyone's wondering. So as everyone's been saying, your commitment to good development and good planning, helped make West Hollywood a great place, and helped make all of us, I think, better planners. So I carry with me your incredible stories, and I wish you really good health and good trouble in the years to come, and happy free Thursday nights.
Thank you, Bianca, so much.
Thank you, Bianca. And our former urban designer, Stephanie Reich, welcome.
Hi, David. Thank you
Hi.
so much. Well, I want to just say it's great to see everyone. I so enjoyed serving the Planning Commissioner, and particularly Commissioner Altschul. I've learned so much from you. I have a deep respect and admiration for your leadership and elegance in working with staff, the applicant teams, and especially members of the public. I thank you really so much from the bottom of my heart, and hopefully we can meet for lunch soon on the roof of Restoration Hardware.
I hope so too.
Thank you, Stephanie. Chair, that's all I'm showing. If there's anybody else here that would like to speak, please let me know. You can use your raise your hand feature, or I do have 2 comments I'd like to read into the record from one person that couldn't be with us. John, this is from Sheila, former Commissioner Sheila Lightfoot. And this is what she has written to you since you couldn't make it tonight. Many who are familiar with my tenure on the Planning Commission might be shocked to know that Mr. Altschul and I became friends through that time. Although we came down on opposite sides on most votes, I relied upon him to answer procedural questions and sometimes tested my interpretation of the code in complicated situations on him. I knew if he could find a hole in it, he would. He also regularly offered constructive criticism in private. I think perhaps to my surprise, more than his, it made me a better commissioner. For that, along with the personal friendship we developed, he will always hold a special place in my heart. As for his imprint on the commission, it is indelible. Thank you for your service, Mr. Altschul. I wish you the best and am confident that after your surgeries and this pandemic are in the rearview mirror, your social calendar will be more enviable than ever. That was from Sheila Lightfoot, John.
Thank you.
And I have one more. This is from Christian Robert, a resident of Pacific Palisades, as follows. As co-founder and principal of Office Untitled, formerly known as RNA Architecture, and on behalf of our staff, clients, and residents of the city of West Hollywood, we want to thank you, John, for all your help and input into our projects during the past years since our first project at 1250 North Fairfax in 2013. Our project in the city would not be as amazing without your witty and always constructive input. Respectfully, Christian Robert, Ben Anderson, and all current and past OU staff.
Thank you.
And I believe that's all I have in the queue at this time, Chair. Like I said, if there's anybody else that would like to speak, please speak up now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And not hearing anyone else, I want to thank all of our predecessors for being here tonight, staff and commission alike. I think it really shows how much John has meant to this community. So I want to thank all of you. I'm sure the current commissioners will have plenty to say when we get to commissioner comments in just a moment on our agenda. So we'll move right along. First to our director's report, which is the next item on our agenda.
Thank you, Chair and members of the commission. I also want to just thank John Altschul for his long service on the commission. You know, way back in 1996, I moved to California looking for a job, and I went to some UCLA extension classes to get familiar with CEQA and California law. And at a lunch breakout, I was looking around to where to sit, and there was a table with John Altschul, and he had a sign that said John Altschul, West Hollywood. So I sat down on that table, and that's where I first met John Altschul. And that was before I even got the job here in West Hollywood. So I've known John basically the entire time I've lived in California, and I've really appreciated all the expertise that he's had, the great way of running meetings. He was a great chair. He was just a really good person to have on the commission. So again, just thank you so much for participating in the life of West Hollywood. You've certainly made it a better place. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John. I remember that lunch.
Yes, exactly. And then also I want to thank John Erickson for his time on the commission. I think it's been great working with you, and congratulations on your new adventures. I'm sure they'll be very exciting.
Thanks, John. And
then the only business item is just a little bit about what's going to happen on council. The next council agenda, we've got the ZTA on 100% affordable going. I think the Planning Commission looked at that the last time. And then also the billboard at 8743 Sunset Boulevard. The first of our digital signs will be going to City Council as well. So with that, those are my comments.
Thank you very much. And I thanked but before I see Councilwoman Meister sign off, I thanked the former commissioners and staff. I think this is the first time we've had any member of the City Council address us while I've been on the commission the last 4 years, and to have three of you here, I think also speaks to the value of the Commissioner Altschul's given to our community. But I didn't want to be out of turn. I just didn't want to fail to acknowledge our City Council members for being here tonight, and I appreciate it.
I thought it was a form of hazing, that I was going to get hazed by my future colleagues. I didn't know if this was the reckoning, but then I realized what was happening. So it was great to see everyone.
And I'd also like to note, Chair, that two of those council members themselves were planning commissioners. Both Councilmember Meister and D'Amico were planning commissioners themselves.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you, Mayor and council members. I didn't mean to exclude you before. I was going down memory lane, and we have the present folks here as well, and I appreciate it very much. So I don't want to speak out of turn. I'd usually go last when we do commissioner comments. So I will start with Commissioner Jones because I think I just saw your hand.
You did. Thank you. So I only really have one thing to say. I think this is our last meeting of the year, I believe. And so it means that I, won't be seeing all of you until the new year. But I, in keeping with some of the other comments in public comment and for my fellow commissioners, I just want to really give John my kind of biggest thanks and highest commendation. You have been such a good trainer to me and mentor to me on planning. You have been such a good friend. I hope that we will maintain our brunch schedule once this is all said and done. I think just having you, the history of so many of the projects and the number of times that you've been able to give context for things has been so helpful to us as a commission and to me as a commissioner. I think almost more, and it pains me to say this a little bit because there's some other former commissioners like Roy on the call who were also excellent at running meetings, but man, you really know Robert's Rules of Order and kind of drilled them into me. So I feel confident. I felt very confident starting as chair of the year that I served. And I also think, and this is just something I think in this time is so valuable, that even when we did disagree, it was in a way that was so civil. And I think that, I and just so many other people can really stand to take a lesson from that. I know things get really heated here in our little microcosm that's West Hollywood. And, it's not usually like Republican versus Democrat or something that contentious, but, we didn't always agree on everything, but I so appreciate that we were always able to like joke about it and just be friendly afterward. And I think that sets a really good example. So before I get verklempt, I'm just gonna cut this now and just say thank you, and you will be greatly missed, and you have set the bar high, and we'll have big shoes to fill. But I look forward to, receiving text messages from you after meetings going forward about how you think we did. So bring it on. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Cavallero.
Hello. Yeah, I mean, I made comments last time. That time I was in shock. So I've had a little bit of time to think about it and kind of reflected on the first time I personally met Commissioner Altschul was in my interview for this commissioner position. And of course, I was struck by his super cool eyewear at first, and then was really struck by his very tough questions. I left the room feeling like that person really knows what he's talking about. I had seen him on commission before, but I had my fingers crossed that we would cross paths again on commission. And a couple of days later, I got the phone call that I would. And since then, like Stacy, you have been a mentor without even knowing it. I listen to your words intently. Your words are always so perfectly composed. They're well thought out. And they always leave me feeling like if I can do half as good a job as Commissioner Altschul does, I'm happy. I've enjoyed our lunches together. I like WehoVille said today, there's an amount of knowledge that's going with you that is not replaceable, but I know you will continue to contribute in different ways. And I'm going to miss you, but I look forward to seeing you when we can. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rogerio. We
Thank
will.
you. Commissioner Hoopengarner.
John, I think like Lauren, we first officially met in your capacity as a planning commissioner as citizens coming to planning commission hearings and sitting in the general plan meetings and working to better our communities. And those of us on both sides of these conversations are used to hearing all about the investors in our community. But I don't think anyone really takes measure effectively of the investment that you have made in our community. By my count, you have been at well over 500 planning commission hearings during your tenure. Multiply that by the hours,
multiply that by the design review hearings, the long range subcommittees, all of the other subcommittees, and that's not even counting the reading and the homework, which we all know can be epic. That is a huge investment in our community, and we've benefited greatly from that, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoopengartner. Commissioner Buckner.
Thank you very much, Chair. Hi, John. I've had several conversations with you. We talk on the phone. We've talked going to and from meetings, both Planning Commission meetings and design review. You have been such a mentor and such a valuable, I guess, teacher, I would call that, because I listen to you a lot. I ask you lots of questions. You give me lots of really good answers and make me think a lot about things. So I really appreciate how you've helped me learn how to be a planning commissioner, frankly. You scared me when I first got on the commission, I must say that. But now that you're my friend, I feel, and I feel very, like it's so easy to talk to you and to involve you in a conversation about a project or about personal things too, because you've been a friend to me and talked to me about a lot of things that are our own thing. And I just want you to know, we're going to be talking regularly, I promise you. And I'm here, as you know, I'm right down the street. If you need anything, please pick up the phone and call. Just want you to know that I respect you so much as a friend, as a commissioner, for all that you have done for the city and for this commission. It's really overwhelming. And it leaves me as the oldest person on the commission, the longest serving commissioner, and the oldest person as well. So I hope that I can still call on you for counsel when I need it, and just sending you big hugs. Can't wait till we can actually meet in person again. Thank you so much, John, for everything.
Thank you, Sue.
Vice Chair Erickson.
Oh, wow. What a wonderful, it was so wonderful seeing so many of these individuals here tonight to come out for our John. I remember when I started as an intern at City Hall, and I remember that you would come in, you would have meetings with John D'Amico. You would also be in Fran's office, sometimes chatting. And I remember once asking, who is that? And they said, that's John Altschul. And it was this level of esteem that just came off of people's, when they spoke of you, they said, that's John Altschul. And when I looked you up and then understood who you were, the words iconic come to the ways in which I have to talk about you now. You have had such an immense impact on the city. And thank you, Commissioner Hoopengartner, for trying to quantify the amount of meetings, because that's a lot of meetings. But the impact that you had both emotionally, physically, as we see, and I think spiritually, for what our city is supposed to represent and who we are, can never be put into words. And as a person who called upon you right away when I first was appointed several years ago, and we met at Granville, and you had said such wonderful things about me, and I said, does he even know me? But ultimately, you said things that made me feel like I could sit on this commission and maybe know that I'm not going to sound as crazy as I think I sound most of the time. But ultimately, you gave me the strength to learn and dive into this very complex issues that we deal with, and feel like I knew what I was saying. And then when John Altschul would say, I agree with Erickson, I agree with John, I would be like, oh my God, I did something right. Like, it was like that reward that we got, because you are just someone that we all look to. I said it before, you are legendary. You have made such an important role on our history. And I just truly, truly want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And as I transition into this new role, I will be keeping your voice in the back of my head of saying, what would John Altschul do? There's several Johns, so we have to be very specific, but ultimately understanding the ways that you've impacted how I deal with these issues is something I plan to take into this next chapter of my life. And I really want you to know how much I care for you, how much I love you, and just truly, I want to say thank you.
Thank you, John. That's lovely.
And I just, because this is my last meeting and I thought I was being reckoned off by my future colleagues, that is not the case. I hear Lauren Langer, I'm still waiting on that official opinion from legal. I would be remiss without truly thanking my colleagues at this moment on the commission. I'm an easy crier these days, so I hope it doesn't happen. It probably will, but here we go. Sue, when we met for lunch at Basics, you had such love and openness in your arms to bring me into this commission, and you truly were a friend, a colleague, a mentor, and I just really want to say I have such deep respect for you. I've seen you on this commission for many years, being a staff member, and now having the honor to serve with you is truly amazing. So thank you very much.
Now you're gonna make
I'm
me
crying,
cry.
so it's gonna happen. So we're just gonna keep moving on with it as we do it. You wait till Monday because my mom's gonna be on. So that's all I gotta tell you. Miss Jones, Miss Stacy Jones, the chair. It was hard to not say chair because I always refer to you as Chair Jones. You were my friend first and my colleague in this new way. You have such a great way of explaining these really complex issues to me. You took me under your wing. You always made sure I was doing and understanding the complex issues and not making me feel any less than, because I had more questions than I needed to for starting out. And you know how I feel about you. So if I get into it with you, I will cry. So thank you for your service. Rogerio, you know how I feel about you. You have taught me so much on art and aesthetic and architecture. You are an asset to this commission and to our city. And I am just so thankful for your friendship, the ways in which you have guided me on this commission and made me see things I never thought I could see in plans, in land use, in the ways in which we look at and how we're making our city better. And you've always made sure, whether it's the slightest tweak or the biggest push that we need to do to make a project better, you're at the forefront of doing that. And I have so much respect for you. And I know you are gonna only continue to do amazing things. And I just want to let you know how much I thank you. Lynn, I know while you were my first meeting when we got together and you took me into your house and walked me through the longest agenda I think we've ever seen as a commission, when it was that first long meeting, you bring the community to the table. And while as we might not see eye to eye and everything, I want you to know I have the deepest respect for you. And I have the deepest respect for all that you are, all who you are, and the voices and the community you represent. You are such a true piece of this commission. And even though when we've disagreed, we've found that coalition to come together to make sure the city's better. And I just want you to know, I will miss you. I have no doubt you will keep us honest with green points and green spaces as these projects will come before us in the future. But I just want to let you know it's been a true pleasure and honor serving with you. And then finally, Chair Bass, we've known each other for many years in many capacities. It's been a true pleasure to serve with all of you, and to have your guidance, your mentorship, and ultimately watching you lead this commission in the ways in which you do. You do it seamlessly. We have the best chairs, and ultimately understanding how much love you have for this city. It truly shows with the care you put in. And then to all the staff who work tirelessly on these issues and the packets. It's not easy. I see you. I will see you more now as a city council member, but I just want you to know how much I truly thank you. It is not easy, and it's even more difficult now. And I just want you to know I'm truly thankful for each and every one of you. And I just want to end my comments by saying to the public, you know, thank you for everyone that is called in, and to all of the former commissioners I did not get a chance to serve with. It was so great to see you all give such amazing tributes to John Olschel. He is just someone I can't wait to go to lunch with at Chin Chin again once this is all done, and really enjoy our company together. And if you need me for anything, you know who to call.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Altshuler, a lot has already been said, but I'm going to echo them, and that my first interaction with you was as a resident. My first memory of you was when a project came up on my block by a developer who had previously had spoken in favor of their project, and they were proposing one across the street. But the previous project was they left the home in this vacant state that was just being run, like it caught on fire, and there was trash, and there were people, you know, living there and all this. And I brought that up, and some of your colleagues kind of brushed it off. And frankly, you held the developer to task for their lack of responsibility in our community. And I just appreciated you being that advocate. And I'll tell you, the next interaction I had with you was I am apparently not very good at counting votes, because the night I was appointed to this commission, I only thought I had 2 votes, and I got the third, and I yelled down the hallway to my roommate, I just got appointed to the planning commission. I was quite surprised, quite honestly. I hadn't counted to 3. And I got a congratulation text from Joe Gardarama, and almost immediately, and I asked him, what do I do now? And he said, reach out to John Altschul. And so you and I had dinner shortly thereafter, and I've just really thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you and learning from you. We've been seatmates the entire 4 years that I've been here until we joined the Zoom format. And you know, from the public comments you make to the private comments before and after meetings and during breaks, I've learned so much from you, and I can't articulate it as well as many of the other people here have tonight. But I do want to say that the city of West Hollywood is better for your service, and I am incredibly grateful to have had the opportunity to serve by your side. And to complete commissioner comments, I would now like to turn it over to you, Commissioner Altschul, and thank you for your service.
Okay, I don't know what to say other than I said most of it last meeting, but it's all about friends to me. I've made so many wonderful friends, all of the present and past commissioners, plus the public, plus the city staff. It's amazing. And it's what life is all about. And in my age, it's a wonderful thing to say that. And I thank you all so very, very much. It's been a pleasure to serve. I tried to count the commissioners from the beginning, from 1996, I think it was, and I couldn't. But a lot of them I remember, and a lot of them I saw tonight, which was an amazing thing. And I thank all of you so very, very much. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. And now we'll actually get to the business. An hour into the meeting, we'll get into the business of the Planning Commission, although I think this was incredibly important for the city of West Hollywood, and thank everyone for your patience. We will now move on. The item next on our agenda is consent calendar, and we have none. And so we will move on to item number 10, which is a public hearing for 1032 to 1036 North Ogden. And I will ask if there is a staff report.
Chair?
Yes.
I am recusing myself from the item because it is a public hearing. So I'm recusing myself from the item, so I will not be participating. So I just want you to know.
Will you be leaving the meeting for the rest of the evening then?
Yes.
Or will you be back for the next item?
Isn't the next item just subcommittees?
It's it's our agenda for next year, and you won't be part of our commission, so I guess it doesn't really apply to you.
Yes, it does not, which is why I did not make any amendments to the changing of the agenda, because it doesn't really, unless there's advice from our city attorney, but I don't think I need to come back if I am understood correctly. Okay, great. Chief Worth, no. So anyways.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Okay, bye-bye. Stay safe out there.
Bye. Thank you.
And with that, we will go to the staff report on this item.
Thank you. Give me just 1 second while I bring up the PowerPoint. Can everybody see that? Okay, great. Good evening, Chair Bass and members of the Commission. My name is Gurdeep Kaur, and I am an assistant planner with the Cartnan Historic Preservation Planning Division. The item before you is a request to demolish 2 single-story, single-family dwellings on 2 contiguous parcels and construct in their place a 4-story, 14-unit condominium building with 1 affordable unit using the affordable housing density bonus. The 13,269 square foot lot is located in the R3B district. The units for this proposed project range in size from a 1,107 square foot single bedroom with 1.5 baths to a 1,597 square foot 2-bedroom with 2.5 baths. The average unit size is 1,384 square feet. Common open space will be provided on the ground floor courtyard, and most units will include private open space. The proposed new 14-unit condominium building is characterized by a 4-story building volume and a detached, vertically stacked 4-story structure around a central light courtyard organized with breezeways and openings that provide relief. The use of a canted wall at the front facade and the incorporation of a variety of materials creates a visually interesting project design that is generally straightforward. The semi-subterranean garage does not extend to the perimeters of the site, thus allowing for usable, plantable areas to enhance the urban ecosystem. New proposed front yard trees and landscaping will create a welcome setting and help provide a transition from the public realm to the building itself. By providing the inclusionary housing unit, the project qualifies for 1 waiver and 2 concessions. The applicant has elected to utilize a waiver to accommodate 1 additional story and increase the allowable height from 35 feet to 49 feet and 3 inches. The first of 2 concessions are used to reduce the overall front yard setback from the required average of the adjacent neighboring properties to the minimum 15 feet. The second concession is utilized for relief from the required additional 6-foot setback for the second and upper stories. The applicant is also applying for a modification to reduce the parking length of some of the spaces by 10%. At the time of the staff report, the staff has received only 1 written correspondence from the public in opposition of the project, and that was attached as Exhibit G in the agenda packet. Overall, the proposed project is well suited for the subject site, is thoughtfully designed and complementary to the context of the neighborhood, and meets the applicable development standards. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the project request subject to the findings and conditions of approval set forth in the draft resolutions. Thank you for your time. Staff and the project applicant and architect are available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Can you please stop sharing the screen so I can see my colleagues? And I see Commissioner Altschul has a question.
Yes. Are those parking spaces side by side or tandem, the ones that they wish to reduce the length?
They're reducing the length of all 11 tandem spaces and then 2 side-by-side spaces.
By how much on the tandem? 10%?
One of the spaces will be reduced from 18 feet to 16 feet and 10 inches.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do any other, Commissioner Hoopengarner?
Yes, the front yard setback, the grid on table on page 12, it doesn't state what the actual required would be based upon the current configuration of the block. What would that be?
The actual required setback would be, I believe, 28 feet.
So going from 28 feet to 15 feet then.
That's 28, 8 foot 6 inches.
Okay. And I am sorry because it was a crazy week for me and I didn't get to my package until today, but I don't seem to have any landscaping plans at all in my package. Am I missing something?
They might not have been included, but I have them available here if you would like me to share them.
I think it's kind of important. It's part of the resolutions and what we're being asked to make it in our findings, and we don't have, I have 0 in my package. I don't know if anyone else has anything in their package.
We do not.
It's a little challenging to review on a tiny screen. I'm asking because this was particularly discussed in design review in terms of activating the interior courtyards, et cetera. And we're really kind of missing a rather large chunk here.
I apologize that they were not included. The landscaping does meet the requirements. There was the incorporation of the opportunity for the bench that was mentioned at design review. I'm sorry that the note it falls off the page here. And then sorry, I don't have, I didn't include that in the packet.
Commissioner Hoopengartner, did you have other questions at this point?
Without being able to review the landscape plan, it's rather difficult. Thank you.
I just didn't want to cut you off because I saw Commissioner Cavallero's hand, so I wanted to.
No, I appreciate that.
Gurdeep, a question related to the front yard setback. Do you know what the setbacks are of the 3 buildings immediately south of this property? Because those are the ones that have already encroached beyond the 28 foot 6. They look like they're about 15 to 16 to 17 foot back from the property line. Do you know that? That wasn't in the staff report.
I don't know that. The ones that were just approved between 1008 and 1020 Ogden.
Well, I'm looking at the site photo and the 3 buildings south of our site, yes, south, have already encroached into that setback. So in your staff report, you say that it's within the setback that has been set by those buildings already. So I was just curious where it stands in relation to those 3 buildings.
I don't have the exact numbers, but those do encroach, I believe, further than 15 feet. I don't know if they're the ones immediately adjacent, but the rest of the block does have a setback lesser than 15 feet in the front yard.
Okay, maybe the applicant will know too.
Are there any other questions from the commission? Commissioner Altschul.
I don't have my packet in front of me. This is proposed as condominiums, is that correct?
Yes.
Great. Next, seeing no other questions, I would like to do disclosures and then ask Commissioner Hoopengartner to make a design review committee report at that point in time. So do any of the commissioners have any disclosures?
No.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes, I had a phone conversation with the applicant's representative, Edward Levin, earlier this week. I think it was on Tuesday. We briefly discussed the project and discussed what was contained in the staff report.
Commissioner Buckner?
Yes, I also had a brief phone conversation today with Ed Levin, who's the representative. and it contained only one item, that part of the staff report. I did have opportunity to review this project, however, on design review when it came before our subcommittee. So.
Commissioner Cavallero, I saw your hand as well.
Yep. I too had a brief conversation about items in the staff report with Ed Levin on Monday and M2 on design review. So I've seen this project a couple of times.
Commissioner Altschul, Commissioner Hoopengarner, either one of you?
No.
I see hands, okay. I also had a conversation with Ed Levin about this project. We discussed items only contained in the staff report. Also, I would like to disclose for the public that I live within 500 feet of this project, but as a month-to-month renter, I have no financial, I lost the word, but no conflict in this situation, and have discussed the situation with the city attorney and see no conflict. With that, Commissioner Hoopengarner, would you like to give us a design review subcommittee report?
Sure. The design review hearing, which was on the date, whatever it says in your package, because I don't remember off the top of my head, at which we discussed areas relating to urban design, the building's performance, and the climate action and environment. As it relates to urban design, we really liked the fact that it was the street facing massing was broken up into two pieces. But we asked the applicant to consider revisiting the material palette to emphasize the standing seam metal seam, because we felt that that was particularly unique and added interest to the building. And we also mentioned that anything that could be done to avoid a top-heavy appearance was something that we recommended, which related, in fact, a related aspect of that was recessing the parapets at the roof to drop the massing as it appeared from the street front. We liked that the elevated front terrace or porch worked well, but we suggested that the architect and the landscape architect be encouraged to revise the front to have a more grand entry, given that open space was there, and to integrate disability access from the sidewalk and create a more inviting but secure open space, and even consider opening the gym and fitness area, thanks to COVID, more to the outdoor space. In the area of building design, the breezeways and the center court were an asset to the project, but especially as relates to good airflow, but they weren't ideal in terms of natural light. So we encouraged more look at how to increase more natural light. We had quite a discussion about the metal seams and the bronze color. I think we were all in agreement that the bronze metal worked really well, and we felt that it would have some longevity in terms of the sustainability of the material. But we also said that we thought, in fact, it could be more of a primary material with maybe less stucco, although having some stucco to create the contrast did have merit. The north and south facades are treated in a sort of almost a second thought manner. They're not given the same thoughtfulness as the east and west facades. With punch windows and very little movement or modulation compared to the east and west facades, and in particular, very little awnings and protections from the light from an exterior perspective. The interior court space, again, we felt was not as activated it could have been, and we discussed this in the context of the landscape design plan as well. We had concerns about the parking configuration, especially an over-reliance on the tandem spaces. And the trash door rooms were swinging out into the driveway entry. I see that that's been resolved in the latest iteration of the plans. The building performance is largely 2 bedrooms with 3 bathrooms, which is a large number of bathrooms, which break up the space considerably, which minimize the ability to create cross ventilation. The solar panels are proposed, but we encourage them to consider integrating the panels into the architecture to provide shading and a visual relief. And finally, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner Gardner. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Somebody else.
Oh, okay. Sorry. That we mentioned that the landscape plans didn't seem to match the architectural site, which is one of the reasons why I asked for the revised plans, and that the front yard trees should be larger canopy varieties, especially given that that's a west-facing building, to provide more shading. And I think that's it, unless my colleagues have anything they wish to add or amend.
Commissioner Buckner is giving you a thumbs up, so we will now move to the applicant's presentation. The applicant will have 10 minutes to make a presentation. We will then hear public comment, and the applicant will then get an opportunity for rebuttal of 5 minutes after that. So I will turn it over to Mr. Levin.
Thank you. Let's see. Thank you, Chair Bass and members of the Commission. Edward Levin, resident of West Hollywood, representing Levin Morris Architects, representing the owner. With me are my partner, Jorge Norino, Paul Lewis, our landscape architect, and Michael DeBelco, the owner. This project's a little simpler than the last one we brought before you. Hopefully we won't be here for 4 hours on this one. Here is the project site, as Gurdeep explained. As you can see, to the north of us, the entire street is built out on both sides. To the south of us, there are a few remaining single-family residences, most of which are either looking toward development or already proposed for development. The project is an L-shaped building wrapping around a courtyard. The courtyard faces north. We found that actually north-facing courtyards makes a great deal of sense in this climate at this point. We've done buildings with south-facing courtyards, and they tend not to be usable very much in the summer because they get simply too hot. This one also tends to look up towards the Hollywood Hills. The building, the 4-story element that you can see at this point is, connected to the courtyard by a sort of an entry fissure that works in both directions. This is the courtyard itself, and you can see that we get cross ventilation from the south and from the west of the street facade. Here it is in massing. We would take a little bit of issue with the description from design review. As you can see here on the 4-story piece, the materials do wrap around to the north facade. Here at the south, from the southwest corner, you can see that we're wrapping these materials from the facade all the way back to this fissure point here. So we do believe that we've very well incorporated the materials and the treatment of the principal facade wrapping around to all 4 sides. Here's the parking level. As Gurdeep mentioned, it's semi-subterranean. What you're seeing in green there is unexcavated space. Yes, we have tandem spaces. To answer the Commissioner Altschul's question, we are asking for a 10% reduction in only one of the tandem pairs. So we're not asking for a reduction from 36 down to 33 feet. We're simply reducing one of each of the tandem pairs. One thing that you will notice is that although it's not required by the zoning ordinance, we have additional maneuvering space cut out at all the end stalls. You can see we're allowing a great deal of additional space. which allows for the maneuvering of the tandem spaces. It's not required, but we think it's necessary to provide to actually make tandem parking work well. As Commissioner Hoopengarter mentioned, we've addressed the issue of the trash room enclosure and the ramp. Natural ventilation, the semi-subterranean garage gives us natural ventilation. It increases landscape permeability. It also greatly reduces construction impacts because we're not digging as deep, we're not digging for as long, we're not doing the shoring, so there's less dust, less time, and less soil being exported. Here's our ground floor plan. You can see here, we listened to Design Review Subcommittee comments. Some we took into account, some others we decided were not feasible. We did widen the entry so that the entry stairs are the same width as the slot going back into the courtyard. You see straight through to water feature here. We have removed the handicap lift, and handicap accessibility is up through a ramp on the side here. The courtyard now extends all the way to the property line, so it kind of welcomes people coming in from this way and sort of extends the courtyard out to the end of the property. Oh, sorry. One thing you'll notice is, yes, we're requiring a reduced setback. You can see here that this existing single-family house to the southwest is set extremely far back, but you will notice that this is our adjacent neighbor. We are only reaching our 15-foot setback up at the top. The building cants out. At the ground floor, we are set back 5 feet farther than the setback of our adjacent building to the north. And this is the prevailing setback on this side of the street. So our ground floor and most of the second floor is set back substantially farther, even though we're using a concession to be able to waive setback averaging. Second floor plan, you can see we take a little bit of issue with the discussion, the description that this number of bathrooms does not allow cross ventilation. Every unit has substantial cross ventilation. You can see it, here. Every unit has at least two exposures. Most of them have 3 exposures, as you can see here, with an exposure to the courtyard, exposure here, and here. So we think we actually have substantial cross ventilation in all of these units. You'll also see large balconies on front and rear to help break up the massing. This is third floor, again, similar situation. Fourth floor, we now erode the corners here to help break up the massing there. This is actually a 2-story unit coming up from below, and there are very large courtyards, very large terraces at the front here, which also help break up the facade of the building. Here is, there's our street facade at the top. You can see the effect of the material changes here. It was suggested that we take a look at doing more of this, of the standing seam metal. We looked at that. We felt that that actually made it a little top heavy. One thing that we're doing here, as you can see, by holding this massing here, we're trying to relate to the scale of the building here. And by the 2-story here, we sort of deal more with the scale of the smaller building to the side there. Again, you can see that the lower elevation is the south. We're wrapping that engineered wood all the way around to the fissure here. So we're really not ignoring the side facades, although there's quite extensive landscaping on the sides. Here's our street facade. You can see how the massing is broken up. The fissure that exists here helps break up the massing. You can see straight back into the courtyard and the stair that activates it. Here's our material palette. There's some confusion in the rendering. As you can see here, this is the material. What appears to be bronze here is actually, the standing seam metal is actually charcoal in color. Here's our engineered wood. Here's our split face stone. The plaster is fairly light, but not sort of stark white. You can see here again the effect of the lighting coming through into the courtyard. Here's the street view. Again, you can see that it's this part of the building up here that's at the front setback. Down here, again, at this level, we're set 5 feet back. We're actually farther back than this adjacent building. Here you can see again the effect of wrapping that material around here So the facade materials really do extend around the side, so you read the massing in 3 dimensions, not simply as a 2-dimensional facade object. Here's our landscape plan, and I'm happy to leave this up. I've sort of gone through a little more quickly, but I'm happy to leave this up so that we can see it in more detail. Again, here you can see that we've extended the courtyard plantings back into the side yard using these planters here. We have extensive plantings all around. We're extensive landscape screening at both sides and at the rear. And again, because we're not excavating the side yard or the last part of the rear yard here, all of these plantings and all the front yard plantings are growing into natural soils. So there's full permeability, and the canopy trees and large screening foliage can grow to full height. So I'm happy to leave this up a little bit longer. There's the view, again, showing the effect of the building on the street. For purposes of being able to see the buildings more, we have not shown the street trees in the rendering here, but there will in fact be a pair of street trees per city standards in front of the building. With that, we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Altschul, and then if Ed, you could take that off the screen so I can see the rest of my colleagues, please.
I can, unless it makes sense to refer back to some of the issues. But
well, I can't see Commissioner Hoopengarner or Commissioner Buckner from my view right now.
We can't have that. Let me see where let's unshare then. Thank you.
Thank you. That makes my job a lot easier. I hate to go back and forth, but it's necessitated by this platform. So but I did see Commissioner Altschul had a question.
Ed, you said, I think, that only one tandem pair is requested to be shortened. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. So one
you know
space,
what apartment that is?
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear what you said just now.
One of the spaces in the tandem pair is a full 18 feet, and the other space in the tandem pair is, I think, about 16 and a half.
So it's just one pair that's affected?
No, he's saying it's
Just
the front row. It's the front entire row, John, is affected.
They're all affected.
Yes.
Yeah.
One out of each pair is affected.
It used to be fairly common. I'm sorry.
It used to be what?
It used to be fairly common practice for the commission to allow tandem to be one standard and one compact, which was a total length of about 33 feet. This length is about 34 and a half because we have one at full 18 and the other is not in compact, which would be 15, but it's something like 16 feet 4. So this is actually, each tandem pair is actually deeper than what used to be common practice for this commission.
How long ago was that? I don't seem to remember it. Anyway, I request.
That would have been, request. Yeah, that would have been about 5 of our projects, or 4 or 5 of our projects had tandem parking with one compact and one standard as the pair.
Well, I would request that the commission consider that all of the printed material with relevance to the sales of these things point out that the spaces are reduced by 1 point whatever inch it is from the requirements of the code.
We'd happily accept that as a condition.
Great. I think I saw Commissioner Buckner had a question.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Ed, I don't remember, what was the material that you were using as the for the ground of the entry and on the ground material and into the courtyard area?
On one side, on one side where it's stone, at the north side where it's split face stone, the stone continues in to the courtyard. It wraps all 4 sides of that building at the ground floor.
And what about the actual ground floor, like the where you walk?
Oh, the ground surface?
Yeah, the ground surface.
That's actually a stone tile.
And because I didn't see the material, how that works with it, but thank you very much. That's it for right now.
Thank you.
Oh, one question. I haven't, sorry, Chair, one more thing. Ed, when we spoke this afternoon, I asked you specifically about the whether it was going to be condos or rental. And you indicated to me that they weren't going to be condos, that you weren't going to be seeking to make them for the track map, but they're going to be rentals. Is that correct?
It's actually sort of both. We do have a track map on this.
Mm-hmm.
Even for those owners that plan to rent these, as this owner does, we always recommend that they put a track map on to protect the entitlement, for the future. But the owner's here; he can address that.
I guess what I'm asking is this going to be part of our rental? Is it going to increase our rental units in the city, or is it going to be?
As a practical matter, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, Commissioner Hoopengarner.
Thanks, Ed. I'm going to ask this is a bit of a comment, but I think it's important in terms of the design. I recall a rather lengthy discussion at design review about, and I think Commissioner Carviero and I had a conversation about this being the bronze standing seam, and that bronze really reflected well and created a real level of interest that was somewhat unique to this building, and we really liked. So hearing now that it's charcoal and not bronze, I'm wondering what is the ability to make it bronze? And I guess, and I'll ask my colleagues to speak to what we discussed at design review, because I'm visually seeing different images on the renderings that I'm seeing in the materials.
Yeah, the facade rendering, the one that you can see in the night view and in the day view, shows it as charcoal. The front-on view, it actually washes out slightly and does appear more bronze, but the intent is charcoal.
I don't know what my colleagues remember about that, or if they have any feelings about it. We can get into that in discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to ask David if we have any public comment at this time.
Chair, yes, we do. I have two public comments in the queue. Our first public comment is the person wants to remain anonymous. They live within the city of West Hollywood. Ma'am, if you want to go ahead and hit your *6 on your telephone.
Hi there.
Hi, you have 3 minutes to speak and let us know of any concerns and issues you have. You may go ahead.
The concerns and issues that I have just listening to the conversation, it sounds like you guys have already decided that this construction can take place. That's how it sounds to me, just from what I've been listening to since 7:48. I would like to know, you guys have discussed the plans and landscaping and this thing and the other thing. What have you discussed about the inconvenience to the current residents in this immediate block? There is construction already in process that's been in process more than 2 years. How much longer is this going to go on in perpetuity that new construction is allowed? There's already enough construction in this block going on, and I'm sick of it. I'm paying my rent, but I'm not getting the peaceful enjoyment of my home that I have had for the last 30 plus years. It has been interrupted, and it seems like I'm going to die before I have my peace again in my home. And I don't like that. and I'm paying market rent, just like a lot of the other residents. And it's not worth it right now with all of the construction going on. It's just not worth it. So I would like to know what the city has done to try to take care of the current residents. I've lived here for more than 30 years with no construction. So that's where I'm coming from right now, because if you look at that picture of that beautiful building, that 4-story building, and you look at the building to the left of it, one of the buildings that's been here over 50 years, it makes it look like a dump. And I know how gentrification happens. In a minute, all of the old buildings are going to be gone. I'm going to be gone as a result of the gentrification. What am I supposed to do? What about my peace in my home? Now, and I had a list of other things to ask you guys, but after listening to you discuss the design of that building, it sounds like you've already made a decision to do this. And this is the first time I've even been able to offer an opinion about it. So can someone let me know, what's going, does it even matter what I have to say right now? Is this just an exercise? You just letting me say this so you can say, well, we let the community have their speak, we crossed all our T's and dotted all our I's, so let's just go ahead and start building the building while 3 other projects are going on. It's ridiculous. No new construction should even be considered until some of the construction in progress is completed. You guys don't have to live on this street and go through all of this.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Your time is up. Your 3 minutes is up. Our next caller is Victor Olmochenko. Victor, go ahead and unmute yourself, *6, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello?
Yeah.
There you go, Victor. Go ahead,
My
Victor.
God, what's wrong with this technology? This is Victor Olmochenko speaking on behalf, of myself, and I think for the West Hollywood Preservation Alliance, and what the previous speaker just mentioned, who is a neighbor of mine, really resonates with me. That 1000 block of North Ogden has been raped by constant construction. When I first moved to town about 20 years ago, that block was half and half single family homes and the apartment buildings from after World War II in the 50s. Now it's turning into all this new construction. And I think what the lady said is it is being gentrified. What I want to say from the preservation angle is those 2 homes, they're also going to go. They were sources of housing for people. And one of them is from 1919. It's over 100 years old. Yes, I know that one of the exhibits in the Planning Commission's packet is the one related to a historic resource assessment. I hope you've had a chance to review that historic resource assessment, which found the properties not eligible for historic status. But what you just heard, because you're supposed to be thinking of not just historic preservation, but of neighborhood compatibility and what's happening with the neighborhoods. This project should be conditioned on some kind of mitigation plan, because it is being really usurped by a lot of ongoing construction, like the lady previously mentioned. And this street deserves some mitigation plans if they're not already stipulated in the terms of the conditions of the resolution, just like the neighbors on Kings Road got south of the Gelsons when they were confronted with so much construction. So I ask you to look at that. I wanted to remind you that we're losing 2 century-old homes on a neighborhood that used to be half and half, single-family homes and multifamily residences. And this city is going to have to come to terms with this gentrification. Maybe, I think I smell something. I smell change in the air. So I hope you listen to some of the people, and let's address the gentrification and the loss of the peace that you just heard this lady speak about. Thank you for listening, and thank you for letting me get a little bit excited over this cell phone.
A little bit.
Thank you, Victor. Chair, that's all the public speakers we have for this item.
Thank you very much. Before we move on to the applicant's rebuttal, you'll have 5 minutes to do that. I just want to acknowledge for the first woman who called in, we don't go back and forth, but the commission will deliberate after the applicant's rebuttal, and I hope you'll stick around for that conversation. So Ed, we will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think I'll need the full 5 minutes. First, I'd like to address construction impacts. As we said, because we're going semi-subterranean in the parking here, we will have substantially reduced construction impacts for shoring, for excavation, and for soil export. And that, quite frankly, is where the most egregious impacts are from construction. It's from the dust, it's from the noise, it's from the excavation, it's from trucks hauling dirt off the site. That's really minimized here. The second thing we'll note is that on the schedule that we're on currently, we don't anticipate, and given the fact that there are some leases which will run through the end of May, we don't anticipate construction beginning on this project before 1st of June at the earliest. So we don't think we're really going to have as much overlap with the existing construction projects, of which there are several. So we don't think that that's going to be a significant issue here. A, because our impact is greatly reduced relative to a standard project of this size, and B, because of the schedule. We're really looking at that happening about 7 months from now. Secondly, as far as Mr. Olmachenko's excited comments, I personally don't like to use the word rape as a metaphor, but neighborhoods do change. We had a historic resource assessment done for this project. It was peer reviewed by the city's historic consultant. There is no reasonable possibility that either of the buildings on the 2 properties would qualify for as a historic resource in this town. If I had thought otherwise, we would have advised the owner otherwise, and we would not, frankly, have taken this project on. This is a housing project. Housing projects have priority. As far as gentrification goes, this city is now committed to greatly expanded RENA numbers. And so, yes, there is existing housing on there now, but we are trading 2 units for 14, which we think is, is a benefit to the city and necessary under the city's commitment under RENA. With that, we'll be happy to answer any further questions, and otherwise we'd be just happy to hear your deliberation on the item.
Thank you very much. We'll leave the public hearing open for now in case there are questions of the applicant, but at this point in time, I would like to turn to the commission for deliberation.
I'd like to ask a question of Ed.
Please, Commissioner Altschul.
Ed? Are you there?
Commissioner, yes.
I assume you've observed the other projects under construction in that block of Ogden. In your opinion, what stage are they at? Are they near completion? Are they mid-stage or what?
They are generally framed at this point. They're in the process of framing, or they're framed. So obviously it's impossible for us to speak to their construction schedule, but just from my basic observation, I'd say that we'd anticipate them to be fully enclosed and fully closed in and just doing their final interior work by the time that we break ground.
By when?
Again, that's just a guess.
I didn't hear that last. I didn't hear that.
We think they'll be fully enclosed, and they'll be doing only their interior work for their finishes and their fixtures and things like that before we break ground on this site.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
Living on that block, if I can weigh in, since we're in deliberation, the project directly across the street has been abandoned and is, from my understanding from code enforcement, is for sale. So it's framed, but there has literally been no work on it in about a year. It's sat vacant. The projects that are just south of this have been moving very quickly, but they broke ground on those almost 2 years ago at this point in time. And then the ones just south of Romaine, they broke ground on that during that 1 month between the time I was appointed to this commission and the time I was sworn in. They broke ground on that. So it's been 3.5, 4 years for the projects just south of Romaine. So I too hope they're done soon, but that's not been the experience of the neighborhood.
3.5 to 4 years. Does it look like it's near completion?
They'll go for a long period of, it's been 4 years on the one project, so almost 4 years. So
we certainly can't speak to the one across the street, which does appear to have been abandoned.
I just wanted to give context of, particularly considering the public comment of what it is like living in this area.
So they're all framed, except the abandoned one is in trouble, but the rest are framed.
There are 3 other lots that are they've been demolished, but they haven't started digging yet. So there are 3 other lots that are at the very early phases too.
May I ask a question?
No, we've closed public comment at this point in time. So we just commissioners at this point in time. Any other? Commissioner Buckner, did you want to?
To our lovely lady that gave public comment, I do believe that there were other opportunities for the neighbors to weigh in. I know that under COVID, it's been a little bit more difficult, but I think that this applicant did have a Zoom meeting, and I would trust that she was noticed of that meeting and could have participated at that time. I know she's very upset. I hear her. It's very unpleasant, and but we haven't made a decision yet. And the discussion about design was from the design review hearings, which are also open to the public, and generally notices given to neighbors of those meetings, and are always welcome to come. But are you shaking your head? No.
There are no mailed notices for design review. There's only public notice.
But there is public notice.
Yes, public, but not mailed.
Right.
With due respect, prior to design review subcommittee, we had the neighborhood meetings are now happening on the Zoom platform.
Right.
Not actually on a video platform, and we had a video presentation up for 3 weeks, and every resident and every owner within 500 feet was noticed for that URL to be able to see the equivalent of a neighborhood meeting, which was up, as I said, for three full weeks. So there was notice sent out to anyone living within 500 feet. So they would have been aware of this project, and they would have been able to see the presentation on the video platform.
And which has been available for comment, Ed?
Comment, yeah.
Yes, we on the video platform at the end was contact information for both city staff and for us, for anyone who wanted further information. Yes, as required.
No one's jumping at speaking.
Well, I do have one last question actually for staff on the replacement housing, and it may be just a syntax issue. On pages 7 and 8, where you address the existing housing, the closing sentence is a little confusing to me. Are you in fact stating that there is one low-income unit currently on the property and that is the replacement? I'm not quite understanding this sentence.
Sorry for the confusion. At the time that the staff report was published, we didn't have the information about the income of the current occupants. So we conditioned it so that if the current occupants did not meet the thresholds and were lower income, then those units would be replaced in accordance with city and state law. Since then, we have been able to verify the income of both units and verify that that they meet and exceed the thresholds. So neither of those two units on either property needs to be replaced. So the one inclusionary unit satisfies our requirements.
Thank you for that clarification.
Commissioner Caballero.
Yeah, okay, I'll start, move the conversation forward. I mean, in regards to the construction, I totally understand and sympathize with public speaker and living on a street where she's bothered by construction all the time. But there will be construction coordination. I'm sure the city will do that to make sure that they minimize impacts as much as possible. So I trust that staff will take that up and make sure that there isn't, you know, mass disruption to the neighborhood. So just saying that, I'll move on to sort of the design issues and, you know, sort of my overall feeling. I mean, the staff report was very well written. It's, you know, like this says, it's consistent with West Hollywood zoning ordinance and general plan. We get one very low income unit and 14 new units for the city. I don't have an issue with the waiver of the concession or modification. Not that, you know, it matters, but, you know, they make sense to me. The shortening of the parking space still makes it a full standard and a full compact. And when we look to the future and sort of the idea that California will be mandating electric cars and electric cars will be smaller, I don't necessarily see an issue with that. Living in a historic building that has tandem parking and I share my parking with a neighbor, I understand this is not the ideal parking situation, but it is possible, especially if the people using the tandem space live in the same home. It's coordinated, and yeah, it's not perfect, but it works. One of the things I've always liked about the project is the courtyard, the fact that it is usable. This courtyard is actually larger than the one that we have here at Villa d'Este. I like that it's facing north. Our courtyard in the summer gets so brutally hot. No one's ever out there. And the staff report said that there really is an activation in a formal way, but just, you know, the cross circulation pathways from all the other apartments will in effect create social dynamic, which then could result in some informal planning that happens in the courtyard that makes it more active. So I think the positioning and the proportion is very important, and I think it works. In regards to the north, south, and east elevations, the front elevation is the west. So, you know, we have approved projects that are blank in comparison to this project. I appreciate how Ed and his team have worked hard to extend some of the materials that are expressed on the front of the building, around the building. And when you look at each elevation, south, east, and north, south, and east, each one is composed, even though they're punch-out windows, they are all composed in a way that each elevation is aesthetically pleasing. And there is enough of breakdown and articulation there that I think yes, it doesn't have the modulation that the front of the building has. I think that would be really, really difficult. And then to have the amount of units that we have. So there, as a give and take, I'm okay with the modulation. And Commissioner Hoopengartner, I remember us talking about bronze. And honestly, I don't know how we got to that, because I'm looking at the previous package, and the same page, A4 4.51, has the exact same material call out that the current one has. So I don't know if we just kind of thought it was bronze because of the render. And this is the problem with renders. You know, it's like, I always say, don't believe a render. And you get caught up in that visual. So now that I'm focused on the material palette itself, you know, and I'm looking at, you know, sort of this gunmetal gray standing metal seam, it actually, to me, aesthetically makes sense, because the bronze would probably clash with the wood finish. So what's nice about the gunmetal gray standing metal seam, if it is gunmetal gray, but whatever that they call that color, will work well with the black anodized aluminum windows. It'll sort of make everything pop and coordinate all the other elevations in a nicely composed way. And then you have the whole offset with a natural stone and the concrete on the bottom. I think I understand we were sort of kind of geeking out on the bronze, but I think what's presented still works very well and could be a very lush building. I also like how the massing relates, even though I know how difficult it is to try to incorporate a comment, a design comment like we made, where we wanted that whole independent piece to become all standing metal seam. Given the proportions that they're working with, it was a tall ask, and I'm okay with the fact that it didn't come back fulfilling that specific request, because the building still is interesting. And I like the fact that the materials relate to each neighboring building on either side. So, I mean, at this point, I'm curious to hear what my other commissioners say, but I feel comfortable moving this project forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoopengartner.
Yes, Commissioner Caballero. I think we collectively just missed the materials palette and we saw the renders. And I'm going to, I agree. In fact, I never, the raising of the metal all the way to the top just is fine with me not doing that. I'm being, my sentences are a little disconnected here. I actually like how it cants out and is at an angle. I think that adds a lot more interest, and taking that all the way up would defeat that purpose. So I'm actually fine with this the way it is. On the material though, I am going to respectfully disagree, because I feel that the bronze is a more natural color than a solid black, and that it ties to the stone and the wood and creates a softened, more natural palette, which softens a lot of the hard angles of the building, so that they sort of complement each other in that respect. So I guess it comes down to what is, as you said, gunmetal gray. You know, is it what I'm seeing on my computer here looks pretty much solid black, or is it really sort of a soft gray, which can translate to a bronze in the sunlight? You know, it has a different effect. And so the harsh black to me is counterproductive to the soft wood and that lovely rough stone. I don't know your thoughts on that, but
I totally agree. You know, how it looks on the monitor, how it looks in print, and how it looks in real life are three different things. And you know, unless we had the real materials in front of us, it's hard to respond to either my assessment of what I'm seeing, or maybe your assessment of what you're perceiving on the monitor or in the renders. So yes.
It's the need for in-person meetings.
Right, exactly. Yeah, at some point we need to trust. So, but I understand exactly what you're saying.
And I don't know how to address that in, actually I have some thoughts, because I already wrote down this note as relates to the landscape design plans that we don't have. And I know that we've done this on a previous project. It was done on a project that actually was prior to my time, but the rehearing at design review, which happened a year ago, I was recused from because it was proximate to my house. That's how I know that it was brought back to design review for final approval, even though the project had been approved. But before they could go for final permits, they had to come back for design review on certain elements. And so I'm wondering if we move this forward, what my colleagues would think about saying, yes, subject to a final design review on the materials, on the landscape design, just as a thought, because it's not something that we have before us. It's really extraordinarily difficult to decide. And it's a substantive piece of this project. That standing seam element is a huge visual piece of this project. So to me, it's very important that it read correctly with the building. And to your point, Commissioner Caballero, if those are black framed windows, then yes, a black standing seam would complement the windows. But should they be black, or should, is the whole thing, a gunmetal gray?
Yeah, I'm not here to suggest a color, but I'm assuming from what I'm seeing in this printout that it's a gunmetal gray, it's not black. So it complements and offsets the wood. But again, I'm assuming because we don't have the materials in front of us, but yeah, this is a hard.
I see Commissioner Buckner really wants to jump in here, but you have the floor, Commissioner.
It just doesn't read black to me at all. And frankly, I think that I like that if it's a soft gray, that the contrast to me is better than if it was a bronze, because then it would look too much like the wood. So and I've got to trust Mr. Levin that says that, he says that it's a soft gray, it's a gray, not a black. So I don't see any need to bring it back. It's very complicated anyway. We're not going to be able to see it anyway because we're not having in-person meetings. So we're going to have to trust that our staff and it's going to be able to review all the materials before they get their final permits to build out. So I don't see any need to bring it back, although I understand what you're saying.
Well, if that is the secondary element, to me, I have a problem making findings around a landscape plan as part of the resolutions that I haven't reviewed or seen.
I hear that. And I understand that, and I think you're absolutely right about that. I don't know how to fix that at this point.
And in as much as it's not just me, none of us have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Commissioner Jones, you raised your hand.
Sure, I can go. I think my only, I reviewed the staff report thoroughly. I want to say that I really appreciated how much of the design review subcommittee's feedback was included in, I'm sorry, my AirPods are dying. 1 second. Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry. I appreciated how much of the, again, the design review subcommittee's comments were included in the staff report. That was really helpful, as well as the review today. It was really well written. As I think most of you know, I'm usually very bullish on parking. I think especially given that these will still be standard spaces and the fact that there is additional maneuvering room provided, which is always a huge problem with tandem spots, especially in a number of the projects that we have seen, and some of which I have voted against on the basis of parking, I'll say it. I feel comfortable with that. Insofar as needing to bring it back to design review, beyond any logistical problems, given that there's a chance that design review won't look the way that it does the next time that it meets, and the same members wouldn't be reviewing it. I don't know if that has any bearing on us actually doing it. But I guess I don't think that there's a need. Insofar as the landscape plans not being included, Commissioner Hubengarner, I know that's really important to you and agree that it is part of the findings. Does city attorney have any guidance, or does staff have any guidance as to, whether or not there's precedent for us having moved projects forward in the past without having seen landscape plans? Do we have kind of a template for how you recommend handling this kind of situation?
I can start with that. The landscaping meets the standards. It's a preliminary landscaping plan at this point, and the conditions are in the resolution in section 7, I believe it's usually 9, to require the final landscaping and irrigation plans at plan check. There's nothing specific in the findings about the landscaping plans, just that it meets the general standards in the zoning ordinance, and it does. And again, it's not, there's nothing specific about the plantings or the planting areas, just that it meets the standards.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful. Thank you. I mean, I think given that, I'm aligned with Commissioner Caballero that I'm in a position to move this forward. I do want to say, and this should have been my first comment, and I'm very sorry that it wasn't, for the woman who called in about kind of the construction in East West Hollywood and what a burden that is. We hear this a lot, especially from tenants and residents on the east side. And there was tree trimming on my street this morning, and that was like 30 minutes, and it was terrible. So your comments are extremely important to us, and I think I speak for all of us when I say that. And we always want to hear from the community. I think one of the harder parts about kind of this is that by the time it gets to commission, we're kind of in the final phases of consideration for it. And I hope that this empowers you to get involved in other projects in the community, and that we hear from you again, because your voice is truly important. And I don't want you to feel like this is a formality, or that we don't listen to you or take your comments into account. These kinds of comments can help shape further policy at the council level, and I just want to note that they are critical to the community that we have and are incredibly important. So even if this doesn't end up going the way that you want it to, we all deserve to have peace in our homes. I do want you to know how valuable that is. So those are my comments for now. I am interested to hear what the other commissioners have to say.
Commissioner Hupengarner. Commissioner Hupengarner, you're on mute.
First of all, I would like to thank the architects for clouding out the changes that they made since design review. I found that very helpful in terms of reviewing, and I'd like to encourage staff to encourage for the future applicants to consider that was very useful, instead of having, especially since we're flipping virtually on computers, and even with 2 monitors here, comparing things side by side is extremely challenging. So I thank you for doing that. I think that on the whole, that this project has been very well thought out. And I do agree that, yes, the applicant took into consideration a large number of the suggestions made at design review. I think that this, I just don't feel comfortable with voting for something that I haven't seen. And that's where I'm just feeling, I just don't know where to go with that. And I'm rather stuck, because it's part of the plans. Yeah, Rogerio?
Commissioner Hupengarner, do you happen to have the previous packet?
Yeah, I do. There's no plan that I didn't have landscaping in that either.
Did you have to? Because I have it. It's page L10. And this is the last packet. And I was just wondering if you have it, then maybe Ed can.
No, actually, the paper version I can't find, and I keep all my paper versions, and for the life of me, I can't find my paper version. My electronic version from Design Review doesn't have landscape plans either, so that's why I'm really stuck.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say maybe Ed could just walk us through the changes to that landscape plan, so that we could, get over this hurdle.
And I scoured my office, and I have everything stacked and numbered, and for the life of me, that is gone. And
yeah,
needless to say, I tried, because I exactly that conversation I didn't want to have. It's not the end of the world. It's just that it is an important piece of the project. It's what we're being asked to approve, and I don't have it. So, and it wasn't delivered to any of us. So that's part of my problem here. I do remember some of the materials from the last time when we did look at it, just from my memory. And there were a number of things in there that were suboptimal in my opinion, but I'll leave it to staff, I guess. I would agree with Commissioner Jones about the tandem. Neither of us are big fans of tandem, but the applicant did go to some extent to build in maneuverability spaces, which goes a long way towards solving the real problem with tandem, is the ability to get in and out effectively without 19-point turns. And I do significantly appreciate the actual amount of undisturbed soil in this property that is going to provide perk and the ability to plant canopy trees, etc. And I guess that's one of the reasons I've been kind of stuck on the landscaping, is because we have this wonderful resource, and I want to make sure that it's taken advantage of, and that we do plant canopy trees in that undisturbed soil. So that said, I'll move on to whomever's next.
Commissioner Buckner?
I believe that Ed said that his landscape architect is present in the room, and perhaps for your benefit, if he would address the issue of the canopy trees, so that maybe that'll help you feel a little bit more comfortable. So maybe he could, is he there? He or she, the landscape architect?
Commissioner Buckner?
He is here.
Yes, our landscape architect is here.
Ed, you want to put
I would find that helpful as well, if you could just, you could keep it concise. I think that would be very helpful.
Would you like us to share the landscape plan on screen?
Yes, Ed, please.
That would be very helpful. Thank you, Ed.
Give me 1 second here.
And at least then everybody will have seen something and will know what we're approving.
Of course.
Or not, whatever the case may be. To our earlier public comment, this is not a done deal.
Sorry. Oh, sorry about that. Give me 1 second, please.
No, we appreciate it.
Show from beginning. Okay. Here we are. Can you all see that?
We cannot.
No.
No, that's odd. Hold on a sec.
While you're doing that, I'm going to make my comments, and when I'm done, maybe we can go to you. I think that would be a good use of time to keep things moving. But we will come back to this, so feel free to put it on the screen. And I'll go to you when I'm done. To our public comment, I did disclose at the beginning of this item when our anonymous caller said that folks don't have to live here. I do. I live on the corner of Ogden and Romaine, so I live right here, and so I am very aware of the construction issues, and they're not convenient. I literally was asleep this morning when the construction workers, I slept in a little bit, but I was asleep this morning when the construction workers arrived, and it woke me up this morning. That's today for the projects on this block. And to our anonymous caller, I walk my dogs 3 times a day. If you see me, please feel free to say hello. I'd love to meet you and chat. So I extend that invitation to you. And one of the things that I think my colleagues would agree is that I'm particular about making sure we have construction mitigation issues, and they all agree with me. My colleagues have always agreed that we need to protect residents who live here, and I am satisfied that the construction mitigation in this plan is I mean, construction's always going to be bad, but I do believe that these efforts will lessen that effort. And I also know that our city engineering in particular has been very helpful with all of these projects going on, and most of these older buildings in our neighborhood have such limited parking. One of the things they've done is limited the number of parking spaces on the street that these construction crews can take, because there are so many going on that cumulatively it eliminates a lot of parking in the neighborhood. So they do small things like that hopefully add up. So it's awful to have this much construction, but and I agree with that, and I suffer the construction pains as much as anyone in this neighborhood. But I have read the report and the staff's recommended resolution. I believe that the community is well protected, and our staff sees through and protects us in that regard. With that being said, I generally like this project. To be consistent, I always raise an issue when there are planter boxes or retaining walls or any of those sorts of features that are next to a sidewalk, because I believe that creates more of a funnel rather than a pedestrian experience. And our community's plan is to make our community more pedestrian friendly. So initially that raised a red flag here, but the trade-off of having so much permeable land and the retaining wall to have that sort of planting, I think is a big trade-off worth having these. I also think that the addition of the 1 foot setback from the sidewalk also helps with that. And the third thing, and I want to really credit the developer here as well as our design review committee for recommending that literally there's a bench here, which I know Commissioner Hoopengartner and I often agree on this walkability issue. She is usually my strongest ally on this issue. And so I see your handiwork in that bench, and I wasn't at that meeting and haven't reviewed the minutes, so I don't know that for sure. So maybe I'm giving credit where it's not due, but I'm pretty sure. And so I appreciate that sort of feedback that really makes this complement the neighborhood in a way that that few projects really do. And so with all of that, I think that's the end of my comments, unless something comes up in the further discussion, but I will turn it now back over to you, Ed Levin.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you by putting the screen share up over your remarks, but I think you've got it up on your screen now, correct?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Yeah, there's the bench at the corner where we sort of opening out to have the pathway come up here. But I'll let Paul Lewis, our landscape architect, field any of the questions you may have about species and trees and the like.
Good evening. Besides the fact that we're stepped back by the foot, there's the planter garden wall is also set back again with the juncus in front of it, again, to soften up that, so that wall is not right on the edge of the sidewalk. So that's one of the things we took into account. And the idea with the planting, we chose in front the acacia longifolia, the Sydney golden wattle, a tree it's a common tree, but not one that's used everywhere. That's become a totally pedestrian tree that you see up and down every block, like at the magnolia, to create some visual stimulation, because it's not really something that's often found, not on this street either. And then the blend of shrub massing is such that it just gives a variation of color and texture in the front yard. In the courtyard, what you saw before, what was in the original initial packet, was a little bit of a gauntlet, and we've opened it up to create more open space for more tables and chairs and furnishing, while still having a pleasant green space to develop out in the courtyard. And we've addressed the overhead canopy with a combination of the Kentia palms and then also the Schefflera umbrella tree, really just to give a soft, comfortable space to sit in the area. That's sort of the real quick, long and short of it at this late hour.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoopengarner, anyone else have specific questions while we have this on the screen? If anyone's speaking, I can only see a couple people. I can't hear anyone though.
I'd like to make a motion, Chair.
I was trying to, I'm sorry, I didn't hit unmute.
Let's hear Commissioner Hoopengarner's questions, and then I'll come to you back to you, Commissioner Buckner, for a motion after those questions, if that's all right.
I thank you for this. This was very helpful. If I recall the original design correctly, the opening of the patio and adding more seating was one of our recommendations, and I think that will really go towards the activating the space and making it much more someday future non-COVID friendly. I think I'll leave it at that. The one minor comment is that the Nandina, especially if you're anywhere near the north side, is just destined to die of powdery mildew. But other than that, I think it looks like a nice design, and I like the use of the juncus against that wall. It creates a nice contrast. And with that, I'll leave it to my colleagues.
Commissioner Buckner?
I was just checking to see if I was muted. Yes, I'd like to move this project forward, and with subject to the findings and conditions of approval to accept the resolution of the Planning Commission approving the demolition permit, the development permit, and modification in order to demolish the two single-story single-family units and building the four-story project as represented in the staff report.
I'll second
that.
I have an additional condition.
Please, Commissioner Altschul.
That all of the printed materials, sales materials, and contracts contain the language that the development tandem parking spaces are blank inches shorter than code requirement, and that they were entitled this in the entitlement. They were granted this in the entitlement.
As the motion, since I made the motion, I would accept that amendment.
Then I'll second.
And Jennifer, you had a comment?
Yeah, we have actual condition language we could read in to address Commissioner Altschul's request if you'd like us to do that.
Please do that.
Okay, Gurdeep, can you please?
Sure.
Now I was muted. So to add condition 12.8, which states, prior to issuance of the certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall provide proof to the Planning and Development Services Director that notification within all lease/rental agreements for the project include language that informs the lessee/renter that the front tandem parking space is reduced in depth from 18 feet to 16 feet 2 inches or 10%.
A renter or buyer.
Exactly, the purchaser, yeah. And/or does it need to be in the CCRs?
That would be my recommendation, is to just add language that it will also be printed in the CCNRs, because we check those before they're finalized to make sure they include all these conditions.
A rental agreement doesn't have CCNRs.
To add language that this notification also be put in the CCNRs for any purchaser.
Fine.
Great. Have we covered our bases on reading that into the record? If that's the case, then I will ask David to call the roll on this motion.
You're the one who has to sign it, Adam, and make sure it's right.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Buckner,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoopengarner,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Elchel,
Yes.
Commissioner Carvalero,
Yes.
Chair Bass,
Yes.
and the motion carries 6 ayes, and noting Vice Chair Erickson as recused on this item.
Do you want to read? I believe there's a statement you have to read, David.
Yeah, let me pull up the appeal for you here.
To note, we closed the public hearing with that motion as well, I believe.
The resolution the Planning Commission just approved memorializes the Commission's final action on this matter. This action is subject to appeal to the City Council. Appeals must be submitted within 10 calendar days from this date to the City Clerk's office. Appeals must be in writing and accompanied by the required fees. The City Clerk's office can provide appeal forms and information about waiver of fees.
Thank you very much. We have very little left on our agenda, so let's move forward at this point. Item 11 is New Business Planning Commission and Design Review Subcommittee meeting dates for calendar year 2021. I don't think we need much of a staff report on this, but does staff have anything to add?
The meeting dates for Planning Commission and Design Review, I have nothing to add on those. There is a new addendum that we'd like to add regarding the Sunset Arts Subcommittee, which I think we were going to bring up under the subcommittee update in the agenda, but we can do it now if Jen is ready for that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if it's preferable, we can handle. We can handle that here. The recommendation and the amended Exhibit A is just to until we know the full constitution of the Planning Commission over the next year, to take the first 3 meetings of each, the first 3 meetings of the year, which would have been the Design Review Committee, and have those be, that you can see it on the screen there, reserved for the Sunset Arts and Advertising Committee, as was constituted several meetings back. So it shows January 14th, February 11th, and March 11th being reserved for the Sunset Arts and Advertising Committee, and Design Review, those meetings removed from that calendar.
Was that noticed to the public at all?
This is an amendment that we're suggesting that we take up here.
So that would limit the number of design review hearings available to applicants, yes?
That would limit the number of meetings in the first few months of the year. However, as we discussed, the need for creating the committee was that there would be a conflict, and some of the projects that would have been seen by design review would naturally go over to this committee.
And I appreciate that. I'm concerned about transparency here, and the fact that that change is not anywhere in the agenda as posted today. And therefore, any citizen, any developer who would have concerns about changes to the number of design reviews and availability of design reviews has not been noticed to the public at all. And for us to make that decision here, I would ask legal counsel whether that in any way violates all the fun rules you get to keep an eye out for.
Here's what I would say about that. I think the purpose of what they're trying to do here is, one, adopt a design review subcommittee calendar for the year, but say, you know what, we're going to take 3 of those meetings away and make them available for billboards. So I don't think they're trying to adopt a whole billboard design calendar for the year. They just want to find available dates for the next few months until we can understand whether we have an ongoing need for the billboard subcommittee, who makes up the different subcommittees, and deal with some changes that might take place on the commission in the next few months. So I think it's just an interim scheduling for the first few months so that long-range planning can get some design review on some of the billboard projects, because those are coming. So it's not a long-term commitment to scheduling. It's just giving a heads up that those dates would be better used for the billboard.
So are you, Brian, to be clear, are you proposing the first 3 design review dates in 2021 would be reserved for billboards, or the first hearing of the month?
Yeah, the first hearing of the month for the first 3 months.
Okay.
And I've confirmed with Rick Abramson on this, and we looked at the calendar going ahead, and it actually seems like we've got probably more billboard projects coming up than we would normal design review projects, and so that's why we felt comfortable with this. We're not delaying projects that are looking for hearing dates necessarily, but we would be delaying billboard projects that are looking to move forward, since this is our last meeting of the year, and we wouldn't be able to get back together to talk about this until the end of January.
If it's only for the first 3 months, I think that would be okay. Otherwise, I would have a real problem with us not being transparent about this with the community. But if I will trust that staff has taken a look down the road at what all the things are in the queue and is balancing this out effectively, without leaving any people who think that they've got 2 shots at a design review now only having 1 a month, sitting in the lurch, as it were.
So is that a motion, Commissioner Hoopengarner?
Why, sure, why not?
Thank you very much. Do we have a second on that?
Is that official enough for you?
Works for me. And Commissioner Buckner seconds. David, can you please take the roll on this?
Thank you. Commissioner Hoopengarner?
Sure. Yes.
Commissioner Buckner?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Altschul?
Yes.
Commissioner Carvalero?
Yes.
Chair Bass?
Yes.
Motion passes. Approving the meeting calendars for 2021 as presented. 6 ayes, noting Vice Chair Erickson absent on this item.
Thank you very much. Item number 12 on our agenda is unfinished business. We have none. We have no excluded consent calendar. So we'll move to item number 14, the planning manager's update.
Hi. Good evening. I can update you. We have a little break. We don't have another meeting in December. We don't have our first meeting in January. So we will not meet again until January 21st as a full commission. So Happy New Year, happy holidays. January 21st right now is shaping up to be a very heavy agenda. We've got several items. I'm not sure that all of them will stay on it, but we'll keep you all posted and let you know how that goes. A couple of them we've seen before, that 2 housing projects that were continued. That's 8760 Shoreham and 1150 Orange Grove. We've got 1 nightclub currently on the agenda, a couple of long-range planning items, zone text amendment for R3CC. We'll bring you the update on the projects that were streamlined in our threshold change on what went to Planning Commission and what did not. If possible, we'll get you that information ahead of the meeting as Commissioner Hoopengarner requested. And we've got a consent calendar item, and we will be electing a vice chair to replace Vice Chair Erickson. Like I said, we'll see how that shapes up. That seems like a long night right now, so we'll see how that goes. Until then, I will just say I want to take my own minute to thank Commissioner Altschul for everything you've done. I've been around for 16 years about now. And as you always like to say, you met me when I had a different name. And I have seen me through since I was very young and green. And I appreciate everything you've done for the city and everything you've done for me.
Fabulous.
Thank you. And Bianca said it all when she said, you make us all better planners, and we appreciate it. So thank you for everything. And we will miss you greatly. And that is all I've got. Oh, and I will just go ahead and let you know what's coming up on the subcommittees. Design Review Subcommittee on December 10th next week. We'll have a project on Formosa. It's a 1238 Formosa. It's a 17-unit apartment building. It's the first time it's gone to subcommittee. And January, it looks like 28th, we will have a project at Fairfax and Fountain that the Methodist Church will come before you. So that's all I've got for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is item number 15, public comment. And I do believe that we have somebody, right, David?
We do. I have one public speaker this time, Edward Levin. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Commissioner Hoopengarner for her comments on the previous item. We are looking to bring something forward in design review. I think as a practical matter, we probably would not have been able to make the January 14th, but that was done without any notice that there would be changes, that projects non-billboard would be excluded for 3 meetings worth. So I do share the concerns about that, and those are very real concerns, and I appreciate them. But my real public comment was to thank Commissioner Altschul for all his service over the years. We're honored, I'm honored personally that our project was the last one on which he would weigh in his official capacity. That was, I think by my count, our 8th project that he's reviewed for us, not counting design reviews, not counting the interminable multi-page memos that I've subjected him to over the years, and that he has generally paid very close attention to, which I appreciate. The first project that we brought forward that he reviewed was 2008. So we've been doing these. We've been at his mercy and his disposal, and having the benefit of all his comments and wisdom for all those years. And having myself served for 15 years on Historic Preservation Commission that meets at best half as often as Planning Commission, with agendas that pale by comparison. He has my absolute and utter respect for the service he's rendered to this community, and I want to just personally thank him for that.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
And Chair, we have one more public speaker, Victor Omachenko.
Hello, this is Victor Omolchenko. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead, Victor.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Bass, Chair Bass, especially for letting the public know that there is a construction mitigation plan in effect for the quite overwhelmed Ogden Avenue, and that's an area that is going under a lot of pressure. And when I hear as the term abandoned properties, properties that have been abandoned, vacant properties, and then you hear about properties that are still being built after having been approved 3 years ago, it just makes members of the public like me think, what's going on? Why are we having these kind of delays? I feel that the noticing requirements, while they are oftentimes met very well, I do feel that they are minimum at best. That 500-foot radius, I just have always felt it's not enough. I like to think that I know a lot about what's happening in the city, but I didn't know about the special video that had been prepared by Mr. Stubelko and Mr. Levin for the Ogden Avenue project. That said, when I was a federal program officer at different agencies, and we had grantees submit applications to us, I never worked there, but if I had been at like the National Arboretum and I got something that didn't have, like a local museum kind of landscape plan or something like that, I would not have approved the project, and I would have had it go through a little bit more, just so that people are comfortable. Missing plans, any kind of plans, I just don't like. And really, I want to leave with the neighbor who spoke, the anonymous lady who spoke and was very concerned about peace in her neighborhood. And she brought up the term gentrification, and I got hot about that. Well, I think that's really been happening a lot. And, you know, I hear Mr. Levin mention the thing about the regional housing needs assessment. You know, well, sometimes when a developer gets approval, I know money can be tight, but when you wait 3-4 years before you start building a project, maybe something should be done with adjusting those kind of RETA numbers or making the construction go ahead. So I just want to share that with you. I think we do need to talk a little bit more about how people are being displaced and being sure that we maintain, you know, peace and public safety in our neighborhoods. Thank you very much for the work that you do, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Chair, that's all the public speakers we have.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Next on our agenda is items from commissioners, including the subcommittee management. Do we have anything from any commissioners? Commissioner Hoopengarner?
Yes, a couple of things. One, to the public comment about the construction, et cetera, et cetera. And I know, Adam, you've brought this up many times. You know, Ogden is a special place in construction land. And so I'm going to ask the staff a question and make a suggestion maybe. Is there a way to sort of publish what the starting day is on construction in certain areas, et cetera? In particular, because you made a mention, Adam, I think that there's 3 or 4 properties that have been approved that are vacant, and goodness only knows when those are going to start. And I know staff is working very hard to try and mitigate all of these issues, but when you've got, you know, 3 or 4 projects in framing and then potentially 3 or 4 projects, you know, going into digging out, that's a significant impact on one little small block or 2 of our city. So anything we could do to communicate with our citizens so that they're aware would, I'm sure, be very much appreciated. With that, I want to say happy retirement to John, and we expect you to enjoy your retirement. We don't expect to hear you calling in and making public comments on projects.
I won't.
Although actually your comments would be very, very much appreciated, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm going to wish my colleagues in the community a very happy holidays and a blessed good riddance to 2020.
Commissioner Jones.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to give a final thanks to Commissioner Altschul. You will be deeply and dearly missed. I also wanted to, we didn't get to say goodbye to him before he signed off, but give best of luck to Commissioner Erickson on his new post as a city council person. We will see you there and online. And also just wish everyone and all of my fellow commissioners a happy and safe and most importantly, healthy holiday season. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Either Commissioner Caballero? Yeah.
Quick question for Jennifer. Jennifer, did I hear you correctly that next week's design review is a project that we didn't see? Because I'm looking at the report right now, and this is the project that was Lautner Japanese inspired, and we have seen this one before. And we requested.
I'm sorry. I may have misspoken. I didn't think it had come before, but it may have.
Okay, yeah, we have seen this one before, so I'm happy to see it back. Yes,
Thank
and
you
I
for the correction.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to make sure I heard that right, or if it was for a meeting in January. Yeah, we didn't have a chance to say goodbye to John Erickson, and I remember when I was in Arts Council, I first met John Erickson, and you know, you can't miss John Erickson. And then when he landed on Planning Commission and he started commissioning, I was like, who is this guy? And he's totally got it. And it's so amazing to watch him step into this new position. I'm very excited about his appointment on Monday and to see what he does as city council person. I know he's going to be great. And Commissioner Altschul, yes, I look forward to crossing paths with you in the future, even if it's for a distant walk or something. Thank you.
Thank you. I do too.
Commissioner Buckner, do you have anything?
Well, I think we addressed John Erickson last time a bit, congratulating him and looking forward to seeing how he participates on council, and looking forward to that. And of course, John, love you. Good night. And I wish everybody a really good holiday season. I think it's going to be different for us this year. Everybody stay well. Happy New Year. And that's it. Thank you, Chair Bass. You did a great job.
Commissioner Altschul?
Thank all of you. You've all been wonderful to work with, to know. And thank you for however that marvelous conglomeration of wonderful friends from present and past appeared. It was amazing, and I appreciate it so much. And it's been fun. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And I too want to, I was planning in this section to wish Commissioner Erickson well in his new role. And so I do that still for the record. Wish him well. And thank you, Commissioner Altschul, one last time. And with that, I am going to adjourn this meeting of the Planning Commission. Just for the record, the meetings on December 17th and January 7th, 2021 have been canceled. So our next regularly scheduled meeting will be January 21st, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Via a teleconference like this meeting. I wish you all well, wear your masks, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year. Be safe.
And additional resources available during the coronavirus pandemic, visit weho.org/coronavirus. Follow @WehoCity on all social media for the latest updates from the city of West Hollywood. Hello, WeHo. It's Eddie Robinson from WehoTV News. The coronavirus has turned our world upside down, and the city of West Hollywood is protecting health and safety and supporting businesses during the pandemic by turning the inside out. Introducing outdoor use temporary zones. Out zones provide outdoor commercial space in public rights of way,